Chapter 1191 of One Piece is here, and this chapter has a lot of ups and downs. This chapter is really hype, really insane. We're seeing a new transformation for Imu, but there's only really one thing that I dislike about the chapter, but it's not too big of a thing. That's at the end of the chapter, so we'll get to it when we get to it, but let's get started. The chapter title is Loki is Here, and the color spread is the Straw Hats in this like Afro version, I guess. It's like this Afro, 90s, 80s version of the crew. I think it's pretty sick, honestly. It's a pretty good color spread. And unfortunately, there is another break next week. Somehow we're getting another break week. I mean, it's just insane at this point how many fucking breaks we've had this year. I might be making a video soon about these break weeks, talking about like what this means for the story, but let's get started with the chapter. So starting where we left off, Gaban lost his arm last chapter, and we're kind of picking up where we left off. So Luffy is pushing through the pain. He's like, how am I still alive right now? And he says, if I change back to normal, then it's gonna be really bad. So Luffy's trying to stay in Gear 5 because if he gets out of Gear 5, we get into Old Man Luffy, and Luffy's just like absolutely worthless if he gets out of Gear 5. But then Luffy hops down to the underworld. So I think he's jumping down to the underworld because he was up in the Sun Realm last chapter, and he's checking on Gaban, and Gaban's like, oh fuck, I just lost an arm. And then Luffy's like, sorry, I made you take that attack for me. And Gaban's like, no, I did it for Elbaf. He has his family here. This is his home. So Gaban's fighting for a lot more than just saving Luffy's ass. I mean, Luffy is still a disappointment to Gaban. Like, Gaban still wants Luffy to succeed, but he is still trying to save Elbaf. And Gaban says, there's no way I'm letting it end like this. And then Luffy's like, who is that? He says, Gramps, what is he? Like, who is this Imu guy? What the fuck is this guy? And then Gaban says some very interesting stuff. He says, well, his true nature seems to be a big secret. And then we see this question mark from Luffy. So I don't know what Gaban's talking about in this moment. There seems to be this, hidden agenda to Imu, or this hidden side to Imu. And I wonder if that's talking about Imu being a good person deep down or something like that. Like maybe Imu's being controlled, or maybe Imu has an alternative plan that really hasn't been, fleshed out to any of us. But then Gaban says, but if I had to put a word on it, I would say that he is God. So Gaban calling Imu God here is pretty crazy. I mean, Gaban knows the full history of the world. I don't know if he knows about this big secret necessarily. Like maybe everything wasn't explained on Laugh Tale. Like maybe Joy Boy's version was on Laugh Tale, but Joy Boy didn't even know Imu's whole, deal. But it's really interesting that Gaban is calling Imu God, because it seems like God is this like title that's like this thing that you can get when you're in Imu's position. Maybe this has something to do with Imu's devil's fruit. Like maybe because Imu has a specific devil's fruit, it's like the very first one, the original devil's fruit, and this means that Imu has all the power. Maybe that's what Doflamingo was talking about in Dressrosa. Like if I had the Ope Ope no Mi, I could swap into Imu's body and then I would become God because now I have the power. Maybe that's what Gaban's talking about. I don't really know. Maybe it's because Imu just is the ruler of the world. Who knows? But now we go over to Imu, and Imu's just like laying on their back in the underworld. Like Imu's just chilling, kind of just like talking to himself. But Imu's letting out like this conquers hockey, and it's knocking out all the animals that are in the underworld. But Imu says, the Pirate King's crew, 'twas unforeseeable that those youths from God Valley will become such a nuisance. Imu continues and says, I ought to have dealt with you like I did with rocks. So Imu's basically saying, if I knew all of you guys were going to get this strong after God Valley, fuck, I should have killed everyone on God Valley instead of just rocks. Which I don't know why Imu wouldn't do that in the first place. Like you have all of the big pirates of that age on one island, including Garp. You could have got rid of Garp. Imu could have got rid of everyone, but instead only took out rocks and basically like started the flames for everyone else. Because God Valley kind of kicked off the entire next generation. Dragon, Shanks, they were all on that island. Imu could have took out everyone. One thing I want to point out here while Imu's laying here is Imu is really damaged in this form. Like I don't know if this is fully from Gaban. I know that Loki got some blows in and Luffy did punch Imu in the face, but it's like I think most of this damage is probably from Gaban's attacks. But Imu took a lot of damage in this fight, and I don't see like any regeneration or healing, anything like that. Gaban does mention later in the chapter that Imu is immortal, but I don't see like the regeneration healing aspect on Imu. But Imu begins to transform. Imu gets a new fucking form in this chapter. Imu heals on this transformation as well. So I was just pointing out that Imu was damaged. Imu transforms and then just heals themselves. So Imu transforms into this giant fucking demon thing and starts growing massively. So Imu heals and grows massively in size, and Imu's hockey seems to have increased because Imu just starts letting out Conqueror's hockey everywhere. So I think that this is the hybrid form of Imu's fruit, or whatever hybrid type form that Imu would have if Imu is a Zoan form. We did see the Harley text in Elbaf. We saw that there was the giant, monster on the Joy Boy side of the mural, the second world of the mural. If that is Emu, I think that that's Emu's full Zoan form just because of the size of Emu in that mural. Emu's size does increase here compared to Emu's base form when they first showed up, but it's not on the size scale of the mural. But we take a little break from Emu and we go over to Chopper, who's in the library. So Chopper arrives to the library and he starts talking to Robin and Saul, and they're like, oh yeah, Biblo saved all the books. And then Chopper starts talking with Biblo. This is what I was talking about before. Like, okay, Biblo and Chopper need to talk. Like, that is one of the things that we need to check off in Elbaf. And like I said in the spoiler video, we're not getting any of the content that Biblo is talking about. We just see that Biblo says something to Chopper and Chopper's like pretty shocked by what he hears, but we don't get to see what that is. So this is Oda setting up his lore dump for the end of the arc. This is what he usually does. He has Robin learn a lot of things at the end of the arc from some important character who's old. So once Emu's defeated, once all the fighting is done, once Zoro and Sanji have finished their fights, then we're going to learn what Biblo has. So then we go right back to Emu, and Emu confronts Luffy and Gaban. So Emu comes flying in and fucking punches a tree just up into the air like Superman. And Emu is just letting out Conqueror's Haki. Like, it brings Gaban and Luffy to their knees just because of the Conqueror's Haki. And with Emu just arriving and punching the tree, it's just shaking everything. And we get to see the full form of Emu. Emu looks insane with this new transformation. I think this looks sick as fuck. I think the like eye gauntlets going around Emu's body, we have the 3 rings now instead of just the 1 omen ring. I think this looks sick. And I really love Emu's hair and the new horns. I don't really know where I've seen this form before, but I feel like I've seen it before. But I really love Emu's goatee that Emu just grows with this transformation. I don't know, this form looks sick as fuck. Emu is ginormous now, and it looks like the swords have grown in size with Emu. But then Emu says to escape from Honobi with only an arm lost. How impressive. So Emu's glazing Gaban because he only lost an arm to the attack. So Emu's still kind of talking that shit. And then Gaban's like, oh, you walked off my attack. That kind of hurts my rep a little bit. So then Gaban kind of returns the glaze to Emu. He's like, I didn't get to do anything with my attack, so it kind of makes me look bad. But then Emu says, with this next attack, there will be nothing left. So Emu's going in for the finishing blow. And Luffy's freaking out. He's like, holy shit, this is a new form. He looks completely different. And then Gaban's like, Luffy, you just need to get out of Elbaf. So Gaban is telling Luffy to take his crew and leave Elbaf so we can have this Enies Lobby 2.0 that I really want. But I don't think we're going to get that because Luffy starts fighting again at the end of the chapter. So I don't really know where we're going to go with this. I just don't see anyone beating Emu in this new form. I don't really know at this point what's going to happen because everyone is really hurt and Emu just full healed with this transformation seemingly. Like, Emu is fine now. I think one thing that can keep us in Elbaf though is the fact that Emu is showing us more forms. The fact that we're learning all of these things about Emu, we're seeing Emu's full bag, maybe that means we're actually fighting Emu to a completion right here. Because if we were going to have an Enies Lobby 2.0, then maybe Oda would save this form for the next arc. Emu would have won in their base form and then we would have gotten this secondary form in the secondary arc. So I don't know, maybe we're going to win this right here. But Luffy says he's not leaving. He kind of doubles down and he says, I'm not going anywhere. And Gaban's kind of giving him shit saying, you're just a corpse. You're kind of useless right now. Like, there's nothing you can do. Just leave, dude. And then Emu goes in for the Honibami attack and we see someone step in to save Luffy and Gaban. Is it Usopp? Is it, Loki? Who is it going to be? It's fucking Hajrudin, dude. Hajrudin comes in clutch and he sends Emu packing. Hajrudin catches Emu off guard with a gun gear and fucking sends Emu flying. There's no Haki on the attack, but the fact that he is just a fucking giant and the fact that this is a powerful attack just sends Emu flying into the Atom Tree. So Hajrudin stocks are up, dude. Like, where is Usopp? I mean, if fucking Hajrudin can do this, Usopp can have one moment against Emu. Like, I swear to God, everyone is getting a cool moment except Usopp. Like, where the fuck is Usopp? But Emu launches these fireballs at Hajrudin while he's like flying away. So Emu is still fine. Like, this attack really doesn't do too much. It just kind of launches Emu away. And we can kind of see the dual explosion. So we have Emu flying into the Atom Tree and then we have the explosions coming back at Hajrudin. But Hajrudin's able to block the fucking fireballs with a random shield. He blocks that shit and he says, I'm not taking that a second time. Because remember when Emu showed up to the West Village initially, Emu kind of shit on Hajrudin and launched fireballs right in his face and kind of blew him up. So Hajrudin learned from that and he says, okay, I'm blocking that shit. You're not hitting me twice. So Hajrudin is showing out here. Like, Hajrudin got shit on in Dressrosa by Luffy in Gear 2nd, and now Hajrudin's showing up, dude. I think this is another clear sign that all of these characters that are just sitting on the sidelines in the story right now, that are coming into the story later, when they come into the story, they're just going to be boosted to fuck, because it's like the power creep is so high at this point that we need all of these characters to be able to do crazy shit to end game villains. So when Crocodile comes back into the story, dude, he's going to be so strong. I can't wait. But then Harjudin comes up to Gaban and he's like, holy shit, dude, you lost an arm. How did that happen? And Gaban's like, thanks for the assist, Harjudin, but this guy's immortal. We can't really do anything. You just need to take Luffy and get off Elbaf. So this is Gaban confirming that Imu is still immortal. I mean, we really haven't seen it. Like, we haven't seen Imu lose an arm and then regrow it back on. But I guess just with Imu's transformations, like the transformation, we saw the blood go away. So that's Imu's regeneration right there. But other than that, I really haven't seen too much immortality out of Imu. I'm just taking Gaban's word as fact right here. But then Luffy doubles down again and he says, I'm not going anywhere, dude. I'm gonna recover right now. So then Luffy just starts moving his legs and shit and starts like pumping air into his body. And he says, I ate a lot. I can make it happen. So this is one of the things I hate about this chapter, I guess, is I just really don't like how Luffy's healing. It just seems a little ass pulley to me. This is one of the things I hate about Gear 5, is because you can just chalk this up to Gear 5 shenanigans. Like, Oda just introduced Gear 5 so he can get away with like the dumbest shit sometimes. I feel like Gear 5 was Oda's way of just kind of releasing the pressure on himself to make Luffy stronger than normal way. Like, because Luffy has Gear 5 and can do anything, then Oda can just write whatever he wants in here and Luffy can do it. So it's like Luffy has a stamina issue. Oh, he's got food stored in his body. He ate so much food from before, he still has the excess food that he can just get on right now. I mean, it makes sense logically, but it only makes sense because of Gear 5's bullshit. And it's like we're already right back to Goofy time. Like, we just had this whole talk with Gaban about being more serious and fighting Imu seriously, and now Luffy's still fucking around. So I don't know. That's just the one gripe I have from this, is just Luffy's way of healing here. Like, I mean, Loki gets healed by Gerd. That makes sense. But Luffy, it's just like, okay, he's recovering because of food. I just want to get away from the food. I just think it's lame as fuck. But Imu launches more fireballs and Hajrudin steps in the way and tanks the attack in the back. This is really impressive to me because Hajrudin was not taking these fireballs very well in the West Village, and now Hajrudin's tanking them with Imu's new form. I feel like Imu was really underwhelming in this chapter. With like, Imu just pulled out a whole new form that looks super busted and then is just getting kind of shit on by Hajrudin. Like, how do you have this new form introduced and you're getting outplayed by Hajrudin, dude? But Imu's kind of flying overhead, just hovering, and Gaban's telling Hajrudin to stand down, just get out of here, dude. And then Hajrudin says, Gaban, Elbaf is not going to bend the knee to this guy. He says a true warrior is resolved to die in battle. So Hajrudin's, doubling down, like, I will die here for Elbaf, which is pretty cool. And then Gaban's like, consider the fallout of your death, moron. So Gaban has some brain cells, but apparently no one else does. And then we get a really cool moment between Hajrudin and Loki, and Hajrudin says, it's okay if I die. Loki is here. So Hajrudin is putting his trust in Loki. He's saying, I don't give a fuck if I die. I'm gonna die for Elbaf, and Loki is still here to back me up. So I think that this is a really cool moment. And then Loki comes running in from behind and he's like, well said, brother. So this is a really cool moment. This is kind of the tag team duo that we've really needed. We always get these tag team duos with the Giants. So now we have Loki and Hajrudin finally teaming up. And then Luffy continues his ass pull healing shenanigans and he starts sucking in a bunch of air and he says, I'm also back on my feet. So he's like ballooned up. So I'm not really sure if he's actually healing or if he's just like sucked in some air to, like, I don't know, hold him through this next attack that they're about to do, because Luffy is still popping out blood. Like, there's still blood coming off Luffy when he's in this form. He still has the damage. So I'm not sure if Luffy's just kind of pushing through it or if Luffy really did heal, because we don't really get to see like his wounds close up or anything like that. So we're gonna have to wait and see with these next chapters, like, how well does Luffy perform? How is his endurance doing? This is almost similar to Wano, where Luffy just kept fighting against Kaido even though he was gonna die. Luffy beating Kaido, the only reason he beat Kaido is because he didn't have a time limit for Gear 5. And since Kaido, Oda has been holding Luffy back with this time limit. So now it really seems like Oda said, okay, now we have to take the time limit away and really unleash full power Luffy. So maybe that's what we're getting here. Luffy's just pushing through it with this food bullshit. I don't really know. And he's gonna, go all out next chapter. But we see Loki, Luffy, and Hajrudin perform the three generals attack that we saw Gerd, Goldberg, and Road perform earlier in the arc. And they are launching Imu out of the fucking area. Like, I don't know how far Imu's getting launched, considering Hajrudin just launched Imu into the tree. Like, I imagine this is launching Imu across Elbaf. But Imu does like put up his hands to block. So Imu is blocking the attack. It doesn't really seem like Imu's using Omen for this attack. So I'm guessing Imu's taking this just fine, honestly. But this might be one of the most powerful attacks we've seen in the story. I mean, Loki and Luffy combined attack? I don't know how much Hajrudin is contributing to this attack. It has to be something of value. I mean, Hajrudin is doing something to contribute, but really the main two is Luffy and Loki, who are using Conqueror's Haki. But this attack is insane. So we're gonna have to see how Imu takes this attack next chapter. I'm guessing guessing we're going to be getting the three of them versus Emu next chapter. I think this is the perfect time to bring Usopp in. I mean, what the fuck is Usopp going to do in this arc? If Hajrudin is here, Usopp can be here contributing. So I don't really know. We have another break week. I'm going to try to make some more videos, but I'm really excited for next chapter. I really want to see what Emu's form can do and see where this arc's heading, because I mean, it seems like we might have an Enies Lobby 2.0 type of thing. I mean, let's see what they do after this attack. Like, do they try and leave Elbaf, or are they just going to continue fighting? I think if they continue fighting, we are going down the path of actually beating Emu in this arc. But if they start trying to run away, then I think that we're going to be getting a secondary arc to this. But if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. That's all I got for today. See ya.